Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Not for the first time, a major heavyweight fight at Wembley Stadium has everybody sort of chomping at the bit, but has a very poor undercard. Very poor undercard indeed. I'm talking, of course, about the Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois rematch, undisputed heavyweight championship at Wembley Stadium. Great event, but obviously it's on pay-per-view. So you would expect a bonanza underneath it, maybe one of those, sort of looks like one of those Riyadh cards. No, not a chance. The undercard's crap. And the only fight really that's of any vague interest, certainly the only fight worth doing a preview for, is Lawrence Okolie versus Kevin Lerena. And this is a battle between two former WBC Bridgerweight champions. I've got an idea Kevin Lerena still holds that belt, but I could be wrong. Lerena's he's a southpaw from South Africa. He's 6'1", very small for a heavyweight. Game guy, very, very tough guy. I suppose came to the fore with a losing, but nevertheless kind of eye-opening defeat to Daniel Dubois, who he floored 3 times in the first round. The first shot was on top of the head. Daniel was discombobulated, hit the floor, says he damaged his knee doing so, got up, got put down twice more in the first round. Didn't look like he'd recovered from the first knockdown, to be honest. If he had an injured knee, he was going to take a knee, so to speak, because, he had to sort of try and weather that round and just get back to his corner and try to regroup within that all too brief 60-second interim period. But he did so, Daniel did. And there was a thought that, and I find it difficult to disagree with this, that Lerena really let Daniel off the hook. And Daniel ended up flooring Lerena twice and stopping him in the third round. And it was a case of what might have been for Kevin Lerena. Now, he came back with a unanimous decision win over Riyadh Mary that was in South Africa. That was a 12-round decision. And that was a good win. I think Riyadh Mary had a win over Tony Yoka in his previous fight. So he went into Lorena's backyard. Didn't quite work out. I thought Lerena clearly won that fight. The cards were varied. One of them was quite wide. Two other judges had it relatively closer. And he followed that up with a 12-round decision over Senad Gashi. Again, Riyadh Murphy had a 31-1 record. Gashi had a 27-3 record. So it's not like he's fighting people who are, complete bums. They're not. It's not just journeymen he's fighting. He's fighting, what you could call fringe contenders, I suppose. But they were smaller heavyweights. In fact, hence the reason that Lerena was at Bridgerweight. I mean, Riyadh Mary is probably make cruiserweight. Then he took on Justice Hooney, and Hooney has proved himself to be a lot better than myself and some other people thought he was, because of his performance against Fabio Wardley, where he won just about every round and then got chinned with one punch. But he showed an awful lot in that fight, Justice Hooney, a very, very good fighter. And in fact, even though he was defeated, his stock rose. And Hooney defeated Lerena on, I think, 2 of the cards had it something like 6-4 in rounds. One of them was a bit wider. But for the first 5 rounds, I was thinking, Lerena's got this. He can win this fight. And he kind of ran out of gas a little bit. Hooney found his rhythm and his timing, and was able to sort of, eventually he closed the gap, and eventually he sort of took a very close decision, but not really convincing. And I think Lerena came out of that again with his reputation enhanced. So I think he's proved that he is a good fringe contender, Lerena. And the Dubois defeat of his 3 defeats remains the only stoppage. He's also got 31 wins with 15 KOs. Doesn't hit very hard. And like I say, he is small. His dimensions aren't big for a heavyweight, 6'1". That's my height. Well, I am a heavyweight. That's only because I'm a fat bastard. So, and he's 33 as well. But he showed in a lot of his fights that he has that desire, that ability to really give it 100% and to hang in there and to make things very awkward. In heavyweight terms, he would probably be considered a gatekeeper. Now, let's go over to Okolie and have a look at him, because I'm sure if you're a Brit like I am, you know all about Okolie. He's got the heavyweight dimensions. He's 6'5", 82.5-inch reach. He's 32 now, so there's plenty more to come. 21 wins with 16 KOs. One defeat to Chris Billum-Smith. That was just over 2 years ago. He lost his WBO cruiserweight title. How the hell he made cruiserweight, I do not know, because a year after that, in May 2024, June 2024, that mid-year anyway, he came back, fought cruiserweight champion Lucas Rosansky, undefeated at the time, and bombed him out in a round, and picked up the WBC cruiser title. He then gave it up, and he fought for the vacant. Who'd have believed this title was vacant? Amazing, isn't it? WBC silver heavyweight title, whatever that is, silver heavyweight title, I suppose. I'll tell you what it really is, a sanctioning fee, that's what it is. A guy called Hussein Mohammed from Germany, I think he's based in Germany, and Okolie scored another first-round knockout. Did you floor him twice? I can't remember. Yeah, he might. I can't. It was one of those blink and you've missed it sort of things, you know. But that means that in the last 2 years and 2 months or whatever it is, so let's say 25, 26 months, he's only had 2 fights, both ended in the first round. So he hasn't had a lot of activity at Okolie. But of course, he was on the outside. He was very much out in the cold, and he got signed by Queensberry. And I thought, okay, Queensberry are mopping up all the heavyweights, but what are they going to do with Okolie? Now, in fairness, Okolie, who at his cruiserweight days were sort of pitted with just boring, unbelievably boring, turgid, car crash TV sort of 12-round distance fights, an awful fight. David Light fight, that was appalling. Sislak fight was dull. If you go way, way back, I mean, he had that Matty Askin fight. Christ, that was hard work. Hard work for watching it. But he did win, you know, everything at cruiserweight. Was he a European? I know he was British and Commonwealth champ. Did he ever win the European? I can't remember offhand. He did. I'm sure he won the European at some point, Mark. But I can't remember against who. Anyway, now he's moved up to heavyweight. He was 222 and a bit for the Bridgerweight fight, but then for the Mohammed fight, the Hussein Mohammed fight, he weighed in at something like 262 or something ridiculous like this, and you're thinking, oh my God. And he had a fat middle. He looked like he was pregnant. But he has, now that he's a heavyweight, and I suppose the reins are off him, you know, he's like, well, okay, I've got the energy now. I've got this physical strength. I'm going to go straight at you. And he looks like a more exciting fighter. He's very offensive-minded. He's always been able to hit hard, but how he made that cruiserweight limit, I do not know. So putting him in with Lerena, even though they're both former Bridgerweight champs, or perhaps Lerena still is a Bridgerweight champ, and Okolie's come up from cruiser. Okolie, I think, would be the much bigger man, not just in terms of dimensions, but I would imagine he would weigh a lot more. He hits a lot harder. And you would think that if it became a contest of physicality, that Okolie would be able to handle Lerena, and he's got the skills to he's got the physical strength to manhandle him. He's got the skills to beat him up and stop him. Well, I tend to lean towards that outcome, but I have to say that, in my opinion, there is a sort of caveat to this, and that is Okolie's inactivity. Like I said, those 2 fights in over 2 years, which are both one-rounders, I would worry about that a little bit. He has trained Okolie now by... see, when you get to this age, you forget obvious names that you've known for donkey's years. You know, the Mancunian guy, Champs Camp. You know what I mean, don't you? He's trained by him. Very tragically has cancer right now, I think. Oh, why can't I remember his fucking name? I've known his name for decades, and now it's this fucking grey matter. When you get older, it sort of turns to mush. You'll tell me, and I'll kick myself when you've told me the name. But yeah, that seems to be a pretty good pairing. Because Okolie, it seems to me, at this point of his career as a heavyweight, needs to concentrate on being uncomplicated. You know, he needs to. He's a big guy now. He can come in at whatever weight he wants. Get yourself into your optimum shape. You know, there's no worrying about making weight. There's no worrying about any kind of diminishing of your being able to do 36 minutes. Go in there and keep it simple, stupid. Okay. Now, Lerena, in order for him to win, first of all, he's going to have to get close. Lerena is a southpaw, by the way. I should have mentioned that. Okolie isn't, but Lerena is, in order to win, is going to have to get close, and the eye of the storm for Lerena might be the safest place. So if he gets in close and work that long body, and make Okolie fight at an uncomfortable pace, then he might have a chance, because Okolie, as with Chris Billam-Smith, the Chris Billam-Smith fight down at cruiserweight, of course, but Okolie doesn't like fighting at a pace that he's not happy with. He likes to have things his own way. He's kind of got a front runner's mentality. And if he is forced into a rhythm or a pace or a style that he doesn't like, what happens? The octopus comes out and the arms start wrapping around the opponents, and he starts spoiling and mauling, and, you know. Lorena's got to try and put him in that mindset. Get in close. It's going to be risky, very, very risky. But, you know, probably crawl under the offense, lots of foot feints and head feints, lots of upper body movement. When you get in close, bang, bang, bang. And if Okolie starts to maul you, because he's going to be the bigger man in terms of his dimensions and his weight, let him, you know, put his weight on you. I can see a few knockdowns through pushing and shoving and mauling rather than punches in this fight, if Lerena can get out the early rounds. If he gets tagged, I think he'll go out early, and Okolie, there's a chance Lerena might get finished in 3 or less if he gets tagged. But what he might do is, it's 12 rounds, so you've got a fair bit of time to go. But what he might do is he might have a look for a round or two, and then start to get, you know, once he's got his engine running, try to, like I say, get in close. But Okolie, if you give Okolie the range, he's got a very, very good jab, times his right hand very, very well. It's very risky for Lerena early on, very risky. And I think that, but if he can get Okolie into rounds 7, 8, 9, and so on, you know, and make him fight, you know, break up his rhythm, break him up mentally, then I think Lerena might have a chance. But I've got to say, I lean towards Okolie stopping Lerena within 5 rounds. I could be wrong, but I think Okolie gets him out of there in 5 or less. And I don't say that disparagingly towards Lerena, because I think he has shown himself to be, like I say, a good gatekeeper type. But Okolie at heavyweight, yes, the inactivity's there. But, yeah, you know, I just think he's a bit too big and a bit too powerful for Kevin Lerena. So I'm going for Okolie to win in 5 rounds or less. What do you think? Let me know your opinions, and explain to me why you think fighter A or fighter B will win, and I'll have a read of your comments. Thank you very much for your time, and please, if you like the video, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Build up this channel. I still can't think of the fucking name of that trainer. What the fuck is going wrong with me? Tell me in the comments. I'll look it up now, actually. God almighty, Mancunian trainer. Oh, isn't it terrible getting older? Some of you are my age, so you will understand my pain. All right. Anyway, thanks a lot, guys and girls. Catch you later. Bye for now.